What is good, internet? It is Spirit of Paradox here and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing Ultimate Origins issue number 2. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch Ultimate Origins issue number 1 explained. That will be linked in the description box below. Well, with all further ado, let's start Ultimate Origins. We begin with the Fantastic Four arriving at Project Pegasus, Devil's Point, Wyoming. We find out why they were brought there by Ultimate Carol Danvers. Yes, Carol Danvers is in the Ultimate Universe. In the Ultimate Universe, Carol Danvers isn't Captain Marvel or Binary. In this universe, she becomes the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at a large point in the universe, but he eventually would be taken off world and sent to prison, and we're not really going to get into that, but back to the story. The reason why the Fantastic Four were brought to this base was to investigate this machine that seems to be watching. If you guys don't know what this thing is, it becomes somewhat important in Ultimatum, and I'm never going to cover that, so I'm just going to tell you what it is. That pole, or this weird watching machine, is the Ultimate Watcher. It does eventually get explained later down the line, but that actually does get explained in Ultimate Comics, The Ultimates, which we will cover the most of. Whilst everyone's observing the machine, they're wondering what it is and wondering if it's watching them, and then the machine's eye just glows and starts to show visions of the past. Then it seems to cause a flashback of 1942 in New York, where we see a young Steve Rogers in the cinema monologuing to himself about what's going on in the war. Even a girl that seems to know him at the cinema seems to try to get his attention, but he seems completely blunt in this universe when it comes down to women. Like, he is just focused on trying to get into the army. But his issue is, the reason why he's so blunt and miserable is because he keeps failing the physical test. Rogers would then leave the cinemas and walk to the army recruitment center, where he would be then told again that he's failed the physical test. And he is really persistent trying to get into the army, like he's really just trying to do his part, and really just trying to do a good thing. And then the man's phone rings. The man gets a call from someone telling him, let Steve Rogers through, and then a man comes through the door and escorts Steve Rogers. While this is happening, Steve becomes increasingly anxious and starts asking questions of is he in trouble, has he done something, and then the man just keeps reassuring him that he isn't. To make Rogers comfortable, he introduces himself as Sergeant Dugan of the United States Army. So this is Dum Dum Dugan from the Ultimate Universe. He escorts him into a laboratory and introduces him to Dr. Erskine and the Project Rebirth, the Super Soldier Serum Project. Warning, we're about to have an Ultimate Universe moment. So Dr. Erskine comes up to Rogers and asks for blood and a urine sample, and Rogers just looks shocked. And then the next page is basically seeing Rogers naked on a lab table being experimented on and being prepared for the Super Soldier Project. Dr. Erskine and Sergeant Dugan join Steve in his room, and they basically give him a debriefing right before the procedure happens. Steve Rogers seems to be ready and fully optimistic for the procedure, and Erskine seems to be over the roof how they've managed to get someone so ready to do a procedure that will probably kill them. Everyone arrives at the laboratory, and we find out that Steve Rogers is the 55th test subject for the Rebirth Project. While Steve Rogers is getting strapped into the machine, he sees somebody in the corner of the room. While this is happening, Steve Rogers takes the injection, and then it starts to become quite uncomfortable for him. Just like Nick Fury's transformation, it's just as explosive. Steve Rogers becomes a successful candidate for the Super Soldier Serum, and this is the early start of his career as Captain America. Just like in the 616 universe, as Steve Rogers takes the Super Soldier Serum, Dr. Erskine gets assassinated by a German soldier. In this universe, Steve also gets shot along with Dr. Erskine. Rogers being furious about what just happened, he goes after this German soldier and takes him out. Whilst this happens, people in the room start to realise that the Ultimate Watcher is in the room. Some people think it was a camera, some think it might be a bomb, but everybody in the room gets told to evacuate. In the next page, we see Steve Rogers mourning about the events of his transformation, until the US President comes into the room and introduces himself and explains the situation to Rogers. The US President explains that there is a lot to take in here. First, he talks about how Dr. Erskine's notes, half of them were written down and half of them were in his head. So this is also a very big piece of information, because the Ultimate Universe and how everybody gets their powers is basically trying to recreate the Super Soldier Serum. So the Hulk, Spider-Man, Ultimate Green Goblin, mutants in general, it's all stems from trying to recreate the Super Soldier Serum. The US President also explains to Rogers that he has to win the war, because if he can't win the war, they're going to have to drop the bomb, and that kills thousands or possibly millions, and he doesn't want to commit a mass genocide. And then Rogers basically understands what he needs to do, and then he says, "Yes, sir." The last thing Rogers goes and does is go to see the girl that he really likes. Rogers visits the woman called Gal and tells her that he's shipping out. But before he does, he explains to her that how much he's loved her ever since middle school. He's never had the guts until now, but he's felt so easy. And she's felt the same way too. And before he goes, he says, "I'd like to," and then he walks off. And oh my gosh, imagine that. You talk in the middle of what you'd say you'd like to do with your woman, and then you just walk off. Yeah, this is so Ultimate Universe. And then she wonders, "Say it when you get back," and then wonders, "When are you gonna get back?" And then the next page is basically saying, "When I'm done." Talk about blunt endings, man. Yes, folks, that is Ultimate Origins issue number 2. So this issue was mainly about Ultimate Captain America, but I have got to say, I do have some issues with this book. I kind of think like the story was a bit rushed, you know, like there was a bit more you could have done when it came down to the story, but I understand. The Ultimate Universe is supposed to be a very straightforward and smaller product, you know, so that I can understand, but I really do think just a little bit of more story in between the time skips, just a tad bit more would have been okay. But I really did enjoy this book. Not my favourite issue in the series, but definitely a good book. But let me know what you guys think down below about issue 2 of Ultimate Origins. I'm going to be returning with Ultimates issue number 2 and issue number 3 on Wednesday and Friday, so stay tuned for that. And I might have some other videos related to Marvel or movie related stuff in the other days in the coming future. But thank you very much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you drop a like, it's really appreciated, and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.